Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Blue Jays trade rumors are really starting to pick up as following what has been a pretty impressive offseason thus far for the Toronto Blue Jays, despite missing out on Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette. Some new trade rumors have started to emerge surrounding a couple of key players. We're going to break down these new reports, these new rumors, and discuss what they mean going forward, as there is one trade in particular that has fans very split. But we also have a ton of other updates across the MLB, as a former Blue Jay has officially been signed. But not only that, a ton of other free agency updates, as the Jays aren't out of it quite yet, even though we're just a few weeks away from spring training. You're going to want to stay tuned until the end of this video. But before we get into it all, very quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. You guys have been an absolute piece of support, and it truly means the world to myself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be diving into some trade rumors today. And of course, like I mentioned just then, we're almost in February. Spring training is around the corner. The Jays, they've dropped some tickets. You can buy tickets now for opening day. Baseball is around the corner, but we're going to be talking about some interesting moves because Ross Atkins is known for making trades, especially in the offseason. Keegan Matheson recently came out and said that a trade seems like a good path. Mitch Bannon, a trade is, a way they can upgrade their team. Now, a new article dropped, and it says Blue Jays trade pitch deals 44 home run slugger and adds a new Jeff Hoffman upgrade. Now, we're going to be talking about JoJo Romero and Lars Nootbaar for a few different players. And I'm not going to be taking too much stock into the actual trade, but someone to keep an eye out on is it's the Cardinals, right? And we've had multiple videos, or I have had multiple videos on the channel about the Cardinals, because it is clear they're selling. Now, this trade has the Jays acquiring relief pitcher JoJo Romero and Lars Nootbaar, someone I've covered on the channel recently, in exchange for Anthony Santander, Nathan Lucas, Bowden Francis, and Johnny King. Now, I want to start this by saying I do not think this is a trade that gets done, because you're giving up Santander at his lowest value, Nathan Lucas, and then, of course, a prospect, as well as Bowden Francis, who has no value at this point. Now, you're getting back Lars Nootbaar, and the reason they're giving up two outfielders in this proposed trade is because Lars Nootbaar would factor in as your daily left fielder. But JoJo Romero is a very interesting piece here. And we can take, little pieces of the puzzle here from this trade. I want to focus in on JoJo Romero because he is a very, very good reliever. He is a lefty who put up a 2.07 ERA last season with really, really good stuff. And I don't want that to get, understated here. Really good stuff. Do I think this is the type of package that would get done? I think there's just too many everyday players from the Blue Jays lineup here, two of them, and Anthony Santander and Nathan Lucas, that are going out. But if you can make a deal to acquire a JoJo Romero and a Lars Nootbaar without giving up both of Santander and Nathan Lucas, and I'm not saying that, one or the other has a ton more value, I don't think they want to give up Santander. I really don't, because he is coming off of the worst year of his career, really, because of injuries and things like that. He has higher potential than to trade him right now. But if you can get JoJo Romero, this would be a guy who is dominant in the late parts of the innings and would give the Jays an elite lefty reliever while also getting a very solid bat. Now, Lars Nootbaar had a bad year last year, all these different things. This is the type of trade I expect Ross to pursue. I'm not saying Santander and Lucas. I just wanted to bring this up because it gives a clean visual about what type of players the Jays are pursuing, though I think that one's a little bit wild, a bit of a surprising trade. But they're going to be pursuing JoJo Romero from the Cardinals if he becomes available, and apparently everyone's available. I would love for the Jays to get some package of Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, or, of course, Burleson, Alec Burleson, I believe his name is, and JoJo Romero. You fill the bat spot, and, of course, you fill your back end reliever spot that this team, quite frankly, desperately needs. Because you can see here, Romero has been deployed in high leverage role for years. In 2025, he recorded 8 saves and 9 opportunities. In the last 2 years, he has 54 holds and 9 saves. That would be a huge addition to the Blue Jays bullpen, especially when you look at the current bullpen options available to the Jays. And it is true, I've been adamant saying they need a bullpen upgrade. And if you can also grab an outfielder as well without giving up the firm. Now, Johnny King is a very solid prospect. We'll have a video coming out very soon on the Jays' updated prospect system, according to MLB Pipeline. I understand why they included Santander and Lucas, so it gives them some upside. I don't think that'd be the case. If they could do a package like this, centered more around, let's say, one of Lucas or Santander, let's just throw Lucas out there, and then a couple of other prospects, like very decent prospects, I think I would seriously consider that, because it makes your team that much better. And you look at the bullpen right now, Jeff Hoffman and then Jimmy Garcia is factoring in to be your 8th inning guy, with Tyler Rogers is your kind of, 7th inning guy, or you can flip that however you want. You need one more firepower arm. And I'm not even talking about in the velocity category. JoJo only averages 94, but someone you can count on to go in and get the job done every time. You have Jeff Hoffman, who, up and downs, of course. You have Tyler Rogers, who should be that guy, Louis Verlin, Jimmy Garcia. Give me one more bullpen piece. And if you can get a bat as well, it would be very notable, because right now, Nathan Lucas is only projected to start 29 games in left field, and of course, split some of the other times in the other outfield spots. I think Nathan Lucas is extendable for a guy like Jojo Romero. Now, you would probably need to get another outfielder to replace him, or you can make the argument, hey, you can move Addison Berger around. You can move David Schneider around. Even if you don't get another outfielder, you can still move one of Lucas or Santander. I just don't think Santander is the right one to move. Let me know down below what your thoughts are. What do you think about this trade in particular? A little bit of a crazy one, but what also are your thoughts on kind of the way that the package could form surrounding a guy like Jojo Romero, who I've been on the record for a while now saying is an absolutely perfect fit. And it would be technically if you give up Santander dealing a 44 home run slugger, because you look at the projected WAR by team now across the MLB. The Yankees have surpassed the Blue Jays. The Jays' projected WAR is 46.5. That AL East is super tight. You see in the top 10, you have every AL East team besides the Rays. You have the Baltimore Orioles at 9. You have the Toronto Blue Jays, or the Boston Red Sox, at 7. Toronto Blue Jays at 4. The New York Yankees at 2. It is a crazy division. Now, you do have the Rays down there at 19. The Jays have to keep adding. And no matter what people say, no matter what people think about, how good the other teams are and what the Jays have done, they've done a fantastic job up until this point. I think they need to get one more bat, or at the very least, get one more bullpen arm. And I think this trade will accomplish both of those. But to be honest with you, I don't know what getting rid of Santander and Nathan Lucas would do for your offense if you're replacing him with, Lars Nootbaar. You can assume Lars Nootbaar is going to have a better year than both those guys, but there's a very real chance where Santander has a 30 home run year and is much better offensively than Lars Nootbaar. I wouldn't give up Santander in this deal. I would Nathan Lucas because of the logjam, and of course, you're also giving up Johnny King, one of your top pitching prospects. So it's a hefty ask, but at the same time, Jojo Romero is the headliner in this package, not Lars Nootbaar. A couple other things to go over before we wrap up here as well. Whit Merrifield recently on his podcast came out and said that Kyle Tucker really wanted to play for the Toronto Blue Jays, but the money in LA was clearly too much to pass up. So, it was too much to pass up. And at this point in time, it stings a little bit to hear this. Again, Whit saying that he wanted to play, he heard in Toronto. The Jays were never going to get up to the $40-50 million the Mets gave him. And then he ultimately took, the Dodgers deal after he asked the Dodgers to match. Bit of hindsight here. I don't know. I'm not upset. The offer was fantastic, right? 10 years, 350. That gets him in most other years, most other circumstances that aren't this insane salary world we're living in before the CBA and before the lockout. But shout out to, Whit Merrifield for this insight, and shout out to Kyle Tucker. He got the absolute bag in LA. I'm not saying shout out because I'm happy that he joined the LA Dodgers, but it's just the reality of the situation. But shout out Whit Merrifield for this. And also shout out former Blue Jay Sir Anthony Dominguez, who signed a 2-year, $20 million deal yesterday with the White Sox, the Chicago White Sox. That was a guy I would have liked the Jays to bring back at 2 years, $20 million. It probably would have made some sense, though I think, and reports are coming out, that he was looking for a 1-year deal. Thomas Hall reported that, writer for the Blue Jays. Or a writer of Blue Jays content. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. Would you have liked to see the Jays take a look at Sir Anthony Dominguez at that $20 million? Or do you think that's a little bit too much and they should go elsewhere? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching, folks. You guys are the best.
Ever notice how Blue Jays trade rumors pop up faster than your alarm clock on a Monday morning? You hit snooze and boom, another blockbuster rumor is trending. Well, buckle up, because things are officially heating up in Toronto. And no, this isn't just hot stove smoke anymore. The Toronto Blue Jays have quietly put together a pretty impressive offseason, even with the sting of missing out on Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette still lingering in the background. And now, just as fans were starting to catch their breath, trade chatter is exploding again. New names, new possibilities, and one rumored deal in particular has the fan base completely split down the middle. Welcome back to the Blue Jays Report, where things are about to get very interesting. With spring training just weeks away and opening day tickets already on sale, baseball season is practically knocking on the door. And if there's one thing Ross Atkins loves more than a late-night phone call, it's making a surprise trade when no one sees it coming. Insiders are starting to suggest that a trade route might be the cleanest way for the Jays to upgrade, and one recent report threw a grenade right into the conversation by floating a deal involving a 44-homer slugger and a potential bullpen upgrade that has fans arguing non-stop. The rumor centers around a possible trade with the Cardinals, a team that looks more like a clearance sale than a contender right now. The proposed idea has Toronto acquiring left-handed reliever Jojo Romero, along with outfielder Lars Nootbaar, while sending out Anthony Santander, Nathan Lukes, Bowden Francis, and pitching prospect Johnny King. On paper, it looks bold. In reality, it feels messy, risky, and just controversial enough to spark chaos online. Let's be clear, this exact deal probably doesn't happen. Trading Santander at his lowest possible value after an injury-riddled season feels like selling your car right after the engine light turns on. The upside is still there, and giving up both him and Lukes for one bat and one reliever feels like overkill. But here's where it gets fascinating. Jojo Romero is the real prize, not the outfielder. Romero has quietly been one of the most reliable, high-leverage lefties in baseball. A 2.07 ERA last season, elite control, and years of experience pitching in prior-packed moments. He's not flashy, he's not throwing 102, but he gets outs when it matters. Over the last 2 seasons, he's stacked holds like grocery bags and even chipped in saves. That's exactly the type of arm this bullpen is screaming for. Now imagine a version of this deal where the Jays land Romero without gutting their lineup. That's where things get exciting. If Toronto can center a package around one of Lukes or Santander, not both, plus prospects, suddenly this move makes a ton of sense. Add a dependable late-inning weapon and possibly a bounce-back bat, and you're cooking. Lars Nootbaar had a down year, sure, but the tools are still there. Even so, this isn't about him being the savior. This is about balance. The bullpen right now has solid pieces like Jeff Hoffman, Jimmy Garcia, and Tyler Rogers, but it's missing that one extra arm you trust with the game on the line. Romero could be that guy, the calm in the storm, the pitcher you don't panic about in the 8th inning. And let's not forget the bigger picture. The AL East is an absolute war zone. Projected WAR numbers show every division rival loading up, with the Yankees, Red Sox, Orioles, and Jays all packed tightly together. Toronto can't afford to stand still. One more bat or one more elite bullpen arm could be the difference between a playoff run and another what-if season. Before wrapping up, there are a couple of extra nuggets worth mentioning. Whit Merrifield revealed that Kyle Tucker genuinely wanted to play in Toronto, but the money elsewhere was simply too wild to turn down. Painful to hear, but that's modern baseball. And former Blue Jay Seranthony Dominguez just landed a 2-year, $20 million deal with the White Sox, a move that had plenty of fans wondering if Toronto should have made that call. So now it's over to you. Would you pull the trigger on a Romero-centered trade? Would you move Lukes, Santander, or neither? Drop your thoughts below, hit subscribe to the Blue Jays Report, and stick around because if there's one thing we know for sure, this offseason isn't done surprising us yet.